Welcome everyone who has just joined us. We are about to start our event in just a matter of time. I want to say thank you so much for those of you who are visiting a Gamma Xi Phi event for the first time. My name is Rashid Darden and I am the national president of Gamma Xi Phi. But today I am here in my role as a member of Beta Lambda chapter here in the South Atlantic region of the United States. I live in rural northeastern North Carolina, and the purpose of Beta Lambda chapter of Gamma Xi Phi is to implement our mission as a fraternity of artists in areas that can't usually be served by a more traditional chapter. So every now and then we'll find people in these communities, such as mine, and we will do one-off programs like these, especially of the virtual variety, but we'll also do things in the community, such as give out coloring books as anti-stress devices to our members of our community. We'll adopt art teachers. We will do whatever we can to serve the community in an artistic way. Gamma Xi Phi as an organization was established in 2010 by 4 students at Ramapo College of New Jersey. And our purpose is to serve artistically and to assist one another artistically. We honor artists through service, social justice, and philanthropy. So thank you so much for visiting. Whether this is your first event or you're a veteran, we're so grateful that you are here with us today. So without further ado, I am going to introduce Zoila J. Primo, who is a manager at Aquent. Aquent is a company that provides marketing, creative, and experience design services, as well as workforce services and professional development. Now, I've known Ms. Primo for a very long time. I've known her in the context of an educator. I've known her in the context of Greek life. She is a sister of Latinas Promoviendo Comunidad, Lambda Pi Chi Sorority Incorporated. And she's also a prolific baker. And she is recently, to my pleasure, back here on the East Coast after a long and storied career in Los Angeles. So Zoila is going to talk to us today about how to get our LinkedIn together so that we can participate in these creative economies. So without further ado, Ms. Zoila J. Primo.
Thanks, Rashid. I am so excited to be here with all of you today. This is a presentation that I have taken members of my sorority through, friends, as well as talent at Aquent to really just show folks how to rock it with their LinkedIn profiles. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. Now, I will say that during the course of this presentation, there are going to be a few activities that we'll do together. So make sure that if you do have a LinkedIn profile, that you've got your profile up. And if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, that is totally okay. Just make sure that you've got a pen and paper, something up that you can take some notes in so that you can take advantage of the resources that will be shared today. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to cover a little bit about what LinkedIn is, how to make sure that your profile is set up to the absolute best of your capabilities, ensuring that you all know how to grow your network and start connecting to opportunities, and showcasing a few different ways that you can connect with folks to apply for jobs. So the first thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about building your profile. There's a few things that are really important about having a robust, functioning profile within LinkedIn. You're going to need to make sure that you have a great photo. You're going to need to make sure that your profile represents your brand and who you are speaking to. And you're going to want to make sure whenever possible to have some recommendations on your profile that showcase your abilities. Now, did you guys know that 9 out of 10 employers nowadays use LinkedIn during the hiring process? This could be anything from just a quick perusal to some companies that I know that, quite frankly, will look for someone on LinkedIn and say, oh, they're not on LinkedIn. I don't know if their resources are real. I don't know if their experience is real, and will dismiss candidates. So what you don't want to do is not have a LinkedIn profile, particularly if you're looking to work at a very large, well-known firm, because many of those companies are looking for those LinkedIn profiles. So you just don't want to leave money on the table. You want to make sure that you've got a LinkedIn, even if you're not super active on there. One of the first things you're going to want to do for your profile is to have a great picture. On average, anyone that has a profile picture will receive up to 21 times more views and 9 times more connection requests via LinkedIn. Now, I mean, that sounds pretty obvious, right? Have a great picture on your profile. What does that do? It makes sure that people know, oh, this is who I'm talking to. This is super helpful. And so you want to keep that in mind when you're building your profile. You don't want to be the plain little shoulder person that they show anytime that someone doesn't have a picture. You want to use a background that isn't distracting. You want to dress for the job you want. So if you want to work at a super corporate, buttoned up role, then make sure your picture shows you as a more super corporate buttoned up person. Whereas if you're like me and you want to be able to wear t-shirts to work and you want to be able to bring your true self to the table, well, then be your true self in that picture. For those of you that later in the meeting, I'll share my LinkedIn, you'll be able to see that I'm not wearing any makeup because I don't wear makeup. So if you don't normally do something, don't do it for the sake of that picture. You want to make sure that your face is clearly visible. It should take up the majority of the frame. And you want to make sure it's a recent photo of you. Typically speaking, we tell folks, try to take an updated picture every 2 to 3 years or so. The other thing to keep in mind is if you are like me, where sometimes your hair is straight, sometimes it's wildly curly, sometimes it's red, sometimes it's brown. If you change your appearance often, you want to update your picture as well, so that whoever you're meeting with, whoever you're interviewing with, knows upfront who's walking into the room, and they can make that decision upfront very quickly. Now, here's where we're going to start working on a few different changes that you can make to your LinkedIn profile. One of the first things I always tell people is that your tagline should not be what you do. Your tagline is the first opportunity that you have to tell people who you are, what interests you, what is it that makes you excited to get up in the morning, right? So when you're writing your headline, what I want you all to ask yourself is, if this is the only thing somebody sees, what does it say about me? Does it represent the brand that I want to be representing? Does it show why I'm unique? And does it capture what a recruiter would care about? These are things that are important, particularly for those that are in more of a creative or technical field, because anyone can be a copywriter. Anyone can be a communications specialist. Anyone can be an artist. But why does your art matter? Why does your style of communication matter? Why is what you do important? So that's what you really want to showcase when you're writing your taglines. The next thing that folks don't really focus on as much is their summary on your LinkedIn profile. Now, your summary is the best place for you to communicate your brand and put your own spin on your experience. And what do I mean by spin? That means if you've got large gaps on your profile where you weren't working, talk about that. Talk about why that gap is there. Talk about what you were doing during that gap. So if you were, in school, if you took a sabbatical to learn something new in a different country, if you were working on your personal art and your personal brand, it is okay to showcase that information here. Because what you want to showcase is, I was unemployed, but I was not idle. I still was taking care of something in that time period. This is also true even if you were taking some time off, let's say to deal with like a personal family matter. Maybe you don't want to put your business out there and say, hey, I was taking care of like a sick family member or something like that. But you can talk about what you learned during that experience of taking care of a family member or raising children or whatever it was that you were doing during that time. And what I always like to provide folks is a really easy formula that you can follow when you're creating your summary. So you want to do 1 to 2 sentences about who you are, 3 to 5 sentences about your experience, your top skills, your passions, 1 to 2 sentences about your future goals and how other members can engage with you. So activity time. We're going to do a very short 5-minute moment where I want you all to think about these things and how you would either edit your existing summary or create one if you don't already have one. And so on the screen, I've put a few things that you want to think about. Again, you want to highlight your past, what's your background, your present, what do you do now, your future, where do you want to be, emphasize any verbs or numbers that are tied to that work, and ultimately speak in first person because this is your journey. I'm going to go ahead and drop my LinkedIn link into the chat as well. Here we go, into the chat. And feel free to go ahead and join my profile on there, and I will absolutely accept all of your invites. You can actually look at my profile to see an example of how I talk about the various different things that I do and what brings me passion and what brings me joy. You'll notice that in my profile, I'm talking about my pets, I'm talking about my baking, but I'm also talking about how much I love teaching data analytics at General Assembly. And I'm also talking about what I do at Aquent. So there's a very Mod Podge combination of everything I do, but the truth is that when you look at my summary, you know who I am as a person. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes, and I'm actually going to go ahead and turn on my timer really quick to just think about it, and then we'll do a quick share out of any changes or things that folks worked on. I'm going to go ahead and start the timer now, and we will chat shortly. And while you're writing, feel free to ask questions out loud. If you have anything that you sort of need help with as you're working on that, feel free to just call those questions out.
Zoila,
Yes.
I have a question. I don't know if it's the right time though.
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
So I'm going to drop my LinkedIn in the chat, and one of that, I think maybe I have 2 questions.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe the first is an observation. So my summary is, well, my about section is pretty long because honestly, I just copied and pasted what's my bio on my website. Really, because I want to be consistent. As you know, I have a lot of different things that I am able to count as research, from education to volunteer stuff. I don't know. I guess the first thing is I think I can try to put my about section in the first person, but I also think maybe I'm at a stage in my career where I don't think I want a future in the nonprofit sector. I think maybe it's time to take those things, at least out of my bio. I mean, I'll keep them in my experience. So
And so I
I'm
do
skipping
have a
around. Like,
suggestion. No, but I see where you're going with that. So I do have some thoughts as I'm looking at your profile now. Have you ever considered writing articles on LinkedIn that you can attach to your profile that talk to your past without them needing to be in your about section? That might be a really great way to still showcase who you were and where you came from without putting it in your about, because your about really should be more about what you're looking to do in the future and less about where you came from in the past, because the rest of your LinkedIn will really share that story. And another thing to consider, because
mhm.
this is your true bio, right, that you're using on your website, honestly, use that to your advantage. You should have, if you look at my profile, for example, you'll notice that on my profile, right under, like when you're first looking at my page, there's like a featured section where I've got a few different links of either articles that I've written or things that I want folks to know about. You can
Mhm.
actually write an article about yourself and your website and feature it there so that folks are seeing your website, seeing your bio, but it's not overtaking the rest of your profile. So that's a great way to keep that information on your profile as featured, but give others the ability to see, okay, but what does Rashid want to do next? So that
That's
might be a really great way to use that.
that's great advice. Thank you. And for those of you who are on this call as fellow writers, that I think that's salient advice for any of us in the literature field. Follow up question, and again, I hope this doesn't
Yeah.
interrupt people that are currently writing or currently editing or building their own things. I I would like to do more photography, and I would like
Mm-hmm.
for people to see me as a resource for that. I don't want to be one of those people that uses LinkedIn like Facebook, but would it be inappropriate to kind of schedule photographs, like some of my best work, as just kind of a random update from time to time? Well,
That's
not random, but as an
that
update.
is that is incredibly appropriate, and it's a part of your brand. It's a part of who you want to be. So you should be sharing that kind of content on LinkedIn. Um, I'm sure anyone that follows me will notice that most of the content I share are around HR laws that are changing. They're around elevating the administrative field, which I'm really passionate about. And
Mm-hmm.
they're also about like sharing my friends' successes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's part of your brand and being a photographer is where you want to go, you absolutely need to be showcasing that. You absolutely should be sharing your art on LinkedIn. That's not using it like Facebook, because you're looking for a very different audience in this case. In this case, you're showcasing it to show this is what I can do professionally. Interested in learning more? Feel free to connect with me. And make sure that when you're sharing your art, don't just share the art for the case of sharing it, share the story behind it. Why is
Mm.
that picture important? Why does it matter? Why is this creative story that you're sharing important? What was your mindset when you were working on this art? Give people a true sense of who you are when you are posting on LinkedIn, because that's what people really want to see. And more importantly, if you ever did want to approach a large corporate brand to say, not only am I capable of taking your photography, here are the incredible stories that I can build with your photos and with the story branding that you're giving me. And so you want to showcase how versatile you can be with your art so that if you ever wanted to approach a more corporate company, you absolutely had the ability to. And you've got your LinkedIn with, X amount of months or even better, X amount of years of you showcasing that capability. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to do it every single day, right?
Right.
So
Right.
offhand, you can think maybe do something where like 3 days a week, you are focusing on ensuring that you're putting content out about yourself and your capabilities. And if you want to use LinkedIn more actively outside of that, then make sure that you're commenting on other artists and other creators' posts as well, and continuing that community to ensure that you're all getting through the point that we're all in this together. We should share each other's work. We absolutely should celebrate each other's wins. because that's what really gives more visibility to, again, the brand that you are building, that you are a professional in your field, that you know what you're talking about, and that people should come talk to you because you know what's going on. So that's definitely stuff you want to showcase.
Thank you. I want to highlight a couple of things in the chat. Courtney
Yeah.
says she hasn't logged on in over 14 years. Now, mind you, Courtney has had the same job in that time and she's very good at it. But what advice would you give to somebody who has a job, is happy?
Well, I have a question, like my own question with that also.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, go
I had
for it.
my hand up.
Yeah, I see it there.
I didn't see it, sorry.
It's okay. So yeah, I know I'm an artist overall. I know the benefit of it. But for me, what turned me off from LinkedIn and I never came back again was when I my first year teaching, they were researching an artist. A kid said, Miss Savoy, I want to research you. I found all this information about you on this page, and it was LinkedIn. I was mortified and made it private. And I didn't want them to know when I graduated and everything I was doing. It's just like, I felt like it was intrusive. So I kept my profile private and I never logged in again because I just didn't like how open it was. And but my question is, I saw it said to make my profile public, and I remember that instance because it's still private, I think, and I have to like select that. What benefit is it to have it private? Because I still feel that way a little bit. I mean, you know, I'm now actually, the irony, 14 years into teaching, so it was literally that day that I am, you know, more comfortable. I'm not close to them in age as I was back then. And but I'm still like, I don't know. Like it just the rundown, the complete rundown of everyone I am. So what benefit would being a private profile have? Could it possibly be beneficial in any type of way, a private profile?
So it can, depending on how you're using it. If you are only connecting with people in your industry that you want to share your thoughts with, then that's okay. Another suggestion that I could make to you is that LinkedIn has come a very long way since the first time you joined it in terms of their availability and accessibility. So for example, if anyone first goes to my profile to come see me, there's very little information that you can see when you are not directly connected to me on LinkedIn. I think I hide my education. I don't even think you can see my profile picture, to be fairly honest. You can only see what I want you to see about me. So you can actually block things so that when someone comes to find you, they only have what you want them to know. And then once someone adds you and you actually
you're
become
public,
connected. Right? Yeah, so I'm actually not public. I am public adjacent is what I like to say.
I want to be public adjacent. So how do I do it?
So I have, and the easiest way to do that is if you go to yourself right up the top. Actually, you know what? Here, let's do this. Let me switch gears for a moment. I think this will be helpful for anyone else really on the call that's got a similar question.
Jennifer, she said it took her 10 minutes to figure this out. So let's
So what you do is you go over to yourself and then you can go to settings and privacy, and you can actually see a lot of the information in terms of how others see you and what visibility. So typically what you can do is visibility of your profile and network, and you can also change the visibility of your activities. So if you notice, you can see it over here, like what people can see of my profile. And so I have some things about, yes, you can see my correct connections, or how do I want my name to show abbreviated? Do I want people to see certain things or not? And so you can actually go section by section and decide what people can see.
Very helpful. Thank you.
And this did not exist when LinkedIn first started. When LinkedIn first started, your only options were public, private. That's it.
That's comforting. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me move this over here. And then does anyone else have any other questions? Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
Sorry, it's hard to know when to jump in. Rashid, to answer you, I would probably just be here more as a visual artist than a teacher. I'm never leaving Coolidge High School ever.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm interested in seeing how you use it to show your, like, so I know that you're really really good at Instagram, and I am definitely wondering how that's going to translate to LinkedIn for you.
It'll probably be just solely art, almost like a portfolio, and not
Gotcha.
anything personal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Did anyone else have any questions or any comments on their summary before we move on? There's a few other really cool resources I want to show you all. We'll move on. But again, you're always able to stop me at any point if you've got any questions about anything that I am showcasing. So the next thing we're going to talk about a little bit is building your network and creating sort of your world in LinkedIn. So you can click on my network in the top navigation panel, and you can find friends, you can find family, you can find fellow members, classmates, current and former colleagues, current and former managers. You can find everyone under the sun. The best part is now that I've connected to quite a few of you, when I go and look at my connections now under my network, I now have folks that are showing up that I know that you all know, but I didn't realize were on LinkedIn previously. And so what it does is it'll actually show you right up top, and actually I'll give you guys a quick preview. But for example, it literally says, oh, look, connections you might know. And I'm looking through this and I'm like, oh, actually, I do recognize some of these people. And so anytime you connect with someone, anyone that is within the same circle that you likely have other connections to also show up on your network. So that's a really great way to continue to build your network as you connect with folks in LinkedIn. The other thing that you want to do is as you're engaging with new connections, you want to make sure that you send an invitation or personalize your invite by selecting add a note if it's someone that you don't know personally. So let's say you met someone at a conference and you found them on LinkedIn and you want to connect. That person might not remember that you met them at a conference. So you want to ensure that you send a quick note saying, hey, so great to find you on LinkedIn. We met at XYZ conference, would love to connect and keep in touch via LinkedIn. This is also a great way to continue to connect with folks professionally that you might not personally need or want to connect with. So think of it that way when you're looking about who else you connect with on LinkedIn. The other thing is that there's a lot of things that you can do to strategically expand your network. You can actually look through LinkedIn and find people that you have something in common with, folks that work at companies that interest you, or someone who might be able to connect you to someone else that can help you to achieve their goals. And so if you are connecting with someone that you don't directly know, but who might be able to help you get to that next step in your career or in your path, you want to make sure that you share with them a quick note about who you are, how you found their profile, how they can help you, and how you're interested in engaging with them. One of the really cool features on LinkedIn that a lot of people underestimate is that there is a feature on LinkedIn where folks can call out if they are interested in being contacted for XYZ reasons. And so if you're ever searching for particular types of folks, you'll actually be able to see that person's interests, and you'll be able to see the section that says talk to me about, and it will give you some ideas of how to break the ice with those particular people that you're interested in connecting with. So just keep that in mind as well as you are looking through LinkedIn. The other thing is that you want to use your LinkedIn network to connect to opportunities. So obviously you can message your connections, you can ask for informal interviews and request referrals. You can also use it to request recommendations or just generally add value and engage with the platform. Now, what does that look like, right? So first, asking for informal interviews. Typically, an informal interview is something that I think a lot of folks that are younger in their careers or are interested in learning more about different careers will use, where you can gain advice on that career path. So you might reach out to someone who's a senior executive in the career that you're planning on going into to learn about the industry, learn about the company that they're working with, and sort of build your own mentoring program where you can learn a little bit more about those types of roles. This is also a great opportunity to ask for informational interviews if you're actually looking at changing industries or changing roles completely. The perfect time to reach out to someone and say, hey, you know what? I noticed that you're in the background that I'm looking to change into. Can we chat for 20 minutes and talk through what that looks like and what kind of background I would need to have to even break into this kind of role or this kind of company or this kind of experience? You can also request job referrals. So let's say you are interested in being the creative director at, I don't know, NBC Universal. And when you go on and look at the role, you notice, oh, this is interesting. I've got 4 connections that all work at NBC Universal. So more than 60% of the workforce has referred someone to work at their company. And a lot of these big firms actually prefer referrals before they'll even look at folks that are just applying right from online. So if you are going to be looking into roles via LinkedIn and you want to be involved in that platform, it's always great to just look and see who do you know that works at those companies and see if they're interested in referring you for that role. The other cool thing about a lot of referral programs is for us internally, many times we have, some perks on our side if you get hired. So more often than not, people are willing to refer folks just because they know that there might be some money slid their way if you get the job. And so don't feel, odd about asking for referrals. More often than not, folks are thrilled to pass that on and say, yep, I will definitely refer you. Let me know if you get the job. I will chase HR later for my coins. So definitely want to keep that out there as an option for yourself. Another really big and important thing that you want to do is request recommendations, because these are basically references from people in your network. You can ask for recommendations from current and former managers, colleagues, people either you have mentored or that have mentored you in a professional experience. You can talk to former professors, pretty much anyone that can speak to who you are in the brand that you are trying to build and have those recommendations on your profile. The other thing I like to tell people is don't wait until you're looking for a job or you're looking to change platforms of careers before requesting recommendations. On average, I've gotten into a habit now where I ask for recommendations probably once a year, at least, right within LinkedIn, so that I do consistently have moving parts to my profile and so that folks can always see other people talking about me. You'd be surprised how many doors have opened for me professionally without me ever actually knocking on that door. And so it's important that you are getting other folks to talk about you and talk about their experience working with you or talking about their experience managing you, because that gives future managers and future companies or future clients an idea of what that's like to work with you. So if you are, for example, looking into photography and you've got some clients that you have photographed and that you have worked with, have them write a recommendation for you on LinkedIn where they can talk about what that experience was like. Because those are things that if somebody else was looking for you and they were like, well, I don't know about hiring this person and their website doesn't give me much about what it was like to work with them, guess what? Your LinkedIn can. You've got that space available for folks to talk about you. One of the other really cool things about LinkedIn is obviously there is that search and apply feature on LinkedIn. You can set your career interests. You can search for jobs. You can search, like create alerts where you literally get emails or comments right within LinkedIn letting you know, hey, a job has come up that you're interested in. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that side of this platform looks like. So did you know, on average, about 31 million job seekers visit LinkedIn every single week? A whole lot of people looking for jobs or opportunities out there. The really cool thing about the jobs filters is that you can filter by keyword, by job title, by company, location, experience level, you name it, they've got a filter for it nowadays. So definitely use those filters to your advantage. I know that nowadays folks are really interested in finding roles that are fully remote. And so you can obviously look for location as remote and see what jobs are popping up in the type of title or role or brand that you're looking to work with. The other thing you want to do is follow companies. So let's say that you were really interested in working for, I'll go with Aquent because that's the one I have on my screen. But let's say you were really interested in working for Aquent directly, either in one of our creative roles or one of our marketing roles. More often than not, companies that actually have a LinkedIn page are also looking at the stats of those pages. So for example, if you applied for a job at, let's say, a recruiting firm, more often than not, the recruiter that you're working with is also going to look for your LinkedIn and they're going to see, hey, has this person ever visited our page? Oh, look, not only have they visited it, they've interacted with it. Oh, this is really cool. They've even connected with other folks at my company. And so for some really large firms, that's really important to them because they want to make sure that you are, you know, believing in their product, believing in their business in order to accept you for a role. And that's the easiest way to show. And it's literally one click. It's the equivalent of a like on Facebook. You just press that follow button and you are now following that company. And then every once in a while, you just want to interact with some of the posts that that company might make right in your LinkedIn feed. And that's how you stay sort of current for a company that you're about to apply to. The other thing that you want to do is you want to join groups on LinkedIn. Now, I know that sounds a little weird because most people are used to only being on sort of like groups on the Facebook side, and you're used to that kind of platform. Groups on LinkedIn are very different. So for example, some of the groups that I'm in, there's one obviously for the organization that I'm a member of, and that particular group, what we do is we actually share job opportunities on there. So if there are types of roles that we're like, oh, this might interest our membership, or even better, if I'm the hiring manager on a role, I can very quickly post what I'm looking for to my members very quickly so that everyone that is an hermana can actually see the job before I go public with it on LinkedIn. I'm also a member of obviously the General Assembly group because we invite all of the graduates of the program that I teach to be a part of this group. And anytime we see anything that's interesting in data analytics, we post it to that group. You'll notice that all of the other groups that I'm a part of are very specific because they are specific to what interests me and the things that are important to me and my career growth. So I'm part of a few different D&I initiatives. I'm part of the Office Ninjas Network, which means a ton to me. I'm also a part of a few different alumni university groups, depending on the different universities that I've gone to throughout my educational career. So really anything that I think is gonna help me along the way, I will join and I'll occasionally interact with. And I think I see someone's hand up. Hold on, let me.
It's me.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't know the culture of LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. What like I know the culture of Instagram, Clubhouse, Facebook, Twitter. What is attractive? Like joining a lot of groups, having a lot of connections. What is the just be honest, the clout? What do people chase to have a lot of?
So I think the interesting thing about LinkedIn is that it's not so much about like chasing clout and having a lot of any one thing, unless you are a brand or public figure. So if you are joining this as a public figure and you want to make sure that everybody knows you're on LinkedIn, obviously you're gonna run out and try and get as many people to join your page and follow. LinkedIn is much more about curating who you are and making sure that everything that you do on the platform is telling the story of your brand. And so it is much more impactful to be a part of 5 or 10 specifically chosen groups that talk to who you are and what matters to you than it is to be a part of 45 groups where you're just never active in any of them and they just sit there and do nothing. It's much more impressive to have a smaller group of people that you're directly connected with than it is to have thousands of folks that you're connected with that you don't actually know. So LinkedIn is almost the opposite of all other social media,
good. Yes.
Where it really is about building your professional brand and your professional circle. So even though, like in my case, I am connected to a lot of people on LinkedIn, but about 95% of those people I've actually met at either conferences that I've attended or spoken at, or it might be someone that I've mentored, someone that I've taught, someone that's a member of the organizations that I'm a part of. So I do have some kind of direct connection to everyone that is connected to me. Even obviously all of you, as you're requesting me today, I've got a connection to you now. I am here, we're speaking about this opportunity. And so I'm happy to connect. It's also great to, whenever possible, connect with folks like that so that if they ever wanted to connect with you and continue to ask you questions in the future, you've got a way to reach out to them that isn't, let me track down this person's email or let me go figure out who they are on Facebook or, social media in general.
Can you expand upon the connecting part on the culture of this site for that? Is it when you connect to someone, is it weird? Like if you press connect, like is it invasive? Like how, if like do you have to really know that person, or am I strange for that? Because like in Facebook you're strange, right? Instagram and Twitter you're not. You can just add anyone. So like how does that? I don't want to be a weirdo. I have no idea.
No, that's a great question. That is a great question. So there's 2 different ways that you can sort of connect with folks via LinkedIn. One is to just press that connect button, and you usually want to reserve that for folks that you do know personally. So either, friends, family members, current or previous coworkers that know you really well. Those are the folks that you're going to just press connect and completely forget that you did it because you already know them. Now, for folks that you've met at conferences or maybe people of other departments that you don't know as directly, but you're interested in learning more about what they do and you're interested in connecting with more professionals in your industry, when you go to connect, that's when you want to send a note and say, hey, found you on LinkedIn. This is why I'd love to connect. Let's connect. Let's, start building a story together. And more often than not, people will feel very comfortable with moving forward with accepting your invites. I get things like that all of the time. The other thing I get a lot of is recruiters reaching out just to say, hey, your background interests us. We don't have anything available now, but I'd love to connect with you so that if something becomes available, I can reach out to you and talk to you about the experience. And so sometimes I will literally just accept a recruiter because I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm not looking, but you never know what opportunity might come knocking on your door, especially if you're not looking for it. So always be open to that possibility.
Zoila, could I give like kind of a user's insight? So for
absolutely.
me, there have been times where it was complete and utter strangers that sent me a request, and I've seen nothing on their profile that interests me, if you will, and I won't accept it because there is no note. And then there's times where I get a request from someone and I know our relationship is going to be transactional. I know it's because they're a fellow author or they work for a literary festival or something like that. I guess my point is I think that people, in terms of the culture of LinkedIn, I get the impression that people are okay with the transactional nature of it. Courtney just asked, can you be real friends with someone and not connect because you're not in the same field? As for me personally, I'm probably going to make the connection with people that I'm real life connected with on LinkedIn because of the repercussions if I don't in my real life. Now, I will say, to me, and Zoila probably knows more about this, the LinkedIn algorithm does seem sensitive. So it does seem, if you, for example, like say for me, because I'm an alpha and I had a whole bunch of alpha friends that or acquaintances that connected with me, but yet most alphas are not artists, that is going to kind of mess up who others I could possibly see. So I think you're in a good position because you haven't used it in 14 years. So I would say if that's your decision to be really, really diligent about how you curate on LinkedIn, I think you would be able to do that. I don't think I would be able to do that. Like for me,
I would agree with that.
The barn already.
Yeah, I would agree with that because the LinkedIn algorithm is extremely sensitive. And every time you add someone, what it does is it's looking at your circle, it's looking at that person's circle, and it's finding what other connections might you both know that you can share with each other to continue to grow and expand your network. And so you'll notice on LinkedIn many times when you see someone for the first time, right next to their name, it might say like first, second, or third plus, because that's basically the degree of connection that you have with that person. And typically the higher the number, the weaker your connection is to that person. So if you were to see someone that says second degree, you're like, oh, okay, so that's someone that knows someone I know. A first degree is someone you know directly. Third degree is someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows you. And so the farther you get out in that number, the more you realize, I might not know that person directly. Now, on the flip side, if you have a friend that you're like, I do know you personally, I probably don't want to connect with you on LinkedIn, you might still want to look at their LinkedIn profile and see who's there. Your network grows every time you add someone new. So if you were to potentially add that friend, you might not realize that you're missing out on connections that that person might have to people that are in your industry. So sometimes I will also just look through someone's profile, look at those connections and see what else they might have that might interest me. And I can actually give you an example of that. So even if you look at my profile, you'll also see right down the side, like, in addition to looking at my profile, these are all the other people that typically folks look at when they are looking at my profile. And so I can see an example of who else is being looked at when I'm being looked at. And so these are sort of interesting tidbits because you can always look at not just that person, but who's connected to them and who might be of interest to you. And so you might find that there are some folks that you didn't want to connect with initially, but then they're connected to people that you would like to connect with. And so you might accept them because of the folks that they are connected to. Does that make sense? Well, that is actually the end of this presentation. But I am open to connecting with y'all. I am going to be providing Rashid this deck so that he can openly share interested when you have the deck with me directly via LinkedIn. So if anyone has any questions after this session or wants to chat one-on-one about their profile, needs any support or any suggestions, I am 100% available. I actively live on LinkedIn way more than I do any of my social media. Sometimes people have to remind me that I have a Facebook account, but I'd never forget that I have a LinkedIn account. I live on this thing.
Zoila, thank you so much for your volunteering to be with us today. We are so grateful as an organization, and for all of us who are members of Gamma Xi Phi, and all of us who are friends and interested folks that are just popping by for the first time. We appreciate you so much, and we are definitely going to stay connected to you. Thank you for everybody who was able to join us this on a Friday afternoon. Congratulations to all of you who are making moves in your careers. Please stay in contact with us. Gamma Xi Phi is on social media everywhere at Gamma Xi Phi, GAMMAXIPHI, everywhere, LinkedIn. We also do have a company page on LinkedIn that you are welcome to follow. If you're interested in joining Gamma Xi Phi as a member of an established chapter or as a charter member of a new chapter, please visit our website at gammaxiphi.com and then shoot us an email either through the site or to me personally at president@gammaxiphi.com. Thank you so much as you travel with us along this journey of philanthropy, sodality, and elevation. And we look forward to seeing all of you at a future event. Have a good one.